I have one of my favorite professors, Dr. Dana Dillon, who is here with us today. She's going to tell you a little bit about that program. But just in case you know nothing about PC and you want a little bit more information, I can kind of do the quick introduction aspect, and then I'll invite Dana on and she can get the program started. So all in all, we'll probably have you in and out of here in about an hour. I know that you spend a lot of your time on Zoom already, so we don't want to spend any more time than necessary. So an hour is probably all we need today. So Providence College, in a nutshell, is a small Catholic liberal arts institution. We are just over 4,100 students on campus. I think that kind of places us in this medium size range of different schools. I think that's a big enough size where you're going to see new people and new faces pretty much every day that you're on campus. But at the same time, it's a small enough size where that community atmosphere definitely plays a large role in your experience, both inside and outside of the classroom. We're currently the only school in the country that was founded and is still run by Dominican friars. So there's about 40 Dominican priests who live on campus. They do things that you would expect a priest to do. They say mass on Sunday, they teach religion classes. They also do things that you might not expect a priest to do. Like, for example, I've seen Dominicans paint their faces for basketball games. I've seen a couple start a food fight on campus. I unfortunately can't reveal their identity because I'd get in big trouble from them. But the point is that the Dominicans are a pretty great resource for students, and their perspective to learn from in the classroom is one that our students really appreciate and enjoy. So that's kind of just the nuts and bolts about Providence. You'll obviously learn a lot more throughout the course of the program today. And you can always contact me or anyone else in the admission office if you have any additional follow-up questions about PC in the future. So for now, I think I've kind of talked as much as I would like to at the beginning. I'm going to invite Dana Dillon to talk about the Development of Western Civ program, as well as kind of just the liberal arts core that we have on campus. Dana, always good to see you. Thank you for joining us today.
You too, Matt. Great to see you. And hey, everybody, welcome to virtual Friartown today. I really wish we could be welcoming you to campus more in person, but we will take what we can get for now. As Matt said, my name is Dana Dillon. I'm a theologian by training. I'm an associate professor with a joint appointment in theology and public and community service studies, which, believe it or not, that's something you can major in here at Providence College. Matt can tell you more about that if you would like to. I'm also currently serving as the associate director of our Development of Western Civilization program. So that's mostly what I'm going to talk to you today, but I will talk a little bit more about the core more broadly. So one of the things that I think is great about a Providence College education is, although we have a faculty that is doing the most recent cutting edge research in any number of fields, including, I know we have mostly social science interested students here today. In addition to that, we do have this core curriculum. So you'll take 4 semesters of Development of Western Civilization, which our team taught by theology, philosophy, literature, and history professors. And so you're really getting a grounding in very traditional education, even while it's very engaged with contemporary sort of thinking. You also take 2 courses in philosophy, 2 in theology, 1 in fine arts, 1 in natural science, 1 in math or quantitative reasoning, 1 in social sciences. And then there's proficiencies in writing, oral communication, civic engagement, diversity. I might have missed 1 in there somewhere along the way, but and really though that core curriculum we fight about it as a faculty senate every so often, but that comes down to, those are the courses that we want to make sure every student at Providence College, no matter what they major in, they've had some foundation in that basic diverse set of courses. The dean of our business school, Dean Maxfield, has been known to say that it's almost like, by taking the core curriculum here, it's almost like you're minoring in liberal arts. And I like to talk about the liberal arts as really designed to prepare you to be a really critical thinker, a deep reader, and an effective writer, as well as an effective communicator. I love teaching in the Development of Western Civilization program here, and part of the reason for that is how it's set up. It is set up so that we faculty teach in teams. So any given team has 3 professors on it. 2 hours a week, you'll attend a lecture by one of those professors. And then 1 hour a week, you'll be in a seminar, a 2-hour seminar with about 15 students, 15 or 16 students, as well as one professor. So I like to tell people, if you kind of have a picture of what college should be about, is going to a big lecture hall and learning from a professor who's prepared a lecture in his or her area of expertise, this is that class. If you think, no, it should be a discussion, it should be 15 people sitting around a table with some of the great texts and engaging the great questions, this is also that class. The first 3 semesters are chronologically driven, so you're kind of marching through history, although engaging theology, philosophy, and literature as well. That 4th semester is something I think that we're really proud of here. It was introduced into the curriculum with a reform almost 10 years ago now, and that's the colloquium. So that's thematically driven. I've been teaching one on racism and theologies of liberation for the past 6 or 7 years now. There are also some, I was looking up some of the ones that are maybe a little bit more social science related. There's one on the history of socialism in America, which is taught by a historian and a political science professor. There's one called Hooked, which is on addiction, which is taught by somebody from the social work department with somebody from the chemistry department. So really looking not only at those social causes and implications of addiction, but also at the biochemistry of that, in fact. So I think that we really give you a lot of opportunities to engage a lot of pieces of the thinking of the world in this class. And I will just, because again, there's social scientists here, I will tell you, as we're looking at those like theology and philosophy cores, I teach a couple of theology cores that I think are really interesting for social science folks. One is an introduction to Catholic social thought, where you get to engage some of the great thinking of the Catholic tradition around economics and economic policies, politics and the public policy kinds of things. Also, the interaction of marriage, family, work, politics, all these kinds of aspects that have some clear implications for some of our social science fields, but also the Catholic tradition has something to say about those things as well. I also do a class called Global Service and Solidarity, which, when there's not a pandemic, includes a spring break trip to go to Guatemala to do service, as well as looking at all kinds of dynamics around global economic disparities and some of the things that lead to things like service trips and those dynamics. So I think, as Matt was saying before, we really offer a lot of contemporary kinds of best educational practices, but really deeply grounded in the Catholic and Dominican tradition that really seeks faith and reason as ways of seeking the truth, as complementary ways of seeking the truth. So that's my rush through the core curriculum. I don't know, Matt, if you have questions that you'd like to ask or perspectives you'd like to ask, or if things are coming up in the chat.
I guess a popular question that I tend to get when normally when I'm traveling and when I'm on the road and meeting with students is they want to know what else is required of them besides development of Western Civ. Like, which classes do they have to take? And honestly, I tend to not list off the full core, because I know that when I do it, and it can sound overwhelming, right? When you say you need 2 natural sciences, you need 2 social sciences. But I feel like if you can explain how there are courses within each subject area that really are kind of geared towards many different majors on campus, and reassure people that, yes, even though you do have to take 2 natural science classes, there's probably enough variety within the offerings where you can find something that's interested and relatable to what you're studying.
Absolutely. So one just example of that, I was talking, so this is the time of year right now, I'm meeting with my freshmen who are undeclared and are trying to figure out what they're going to register for next semester. I was talking to a young man who is thinking maybe a social work major, but maybe not, he's not sure. And one of the things, so we kind of looked up the academic guidebook, and the social work major requires a biology course that's kind of on, lifespan and life development. And I said, look, you can take that class, and if you end up being a social work major, it qualifies as part of that major's requirement, and also natural science. And of course, if you decide to major in, he was also thinking maybe, I think sociology or some other health policy management, some other kind of related things. If you end up not majoring in social work, you still have fulfilled one of the natural science requirements. So it's a great exploratory course. And I think that sometimes people feel like, oh no, this is a school that has a big core, and that's somehow an impediment to what I might take. I think a lot of our students, and I mean, there's always a little bit of a tension, right? Like, got to get the core out of the way, got to get the core fulfilled. But I also find that students end up talking about how great it is that they were, like, again, I'll take my Catholic social thought class. When I have that class there's usually a smattering of business majors, and then again, quite a few poli-sci, quite a few econ, some public and community service studies and things like that. And when those students get to be in that class together and engage the theological tradition, but also they get to meet these, the econ majors are meeting the poli-sci majors and seeing both some of the differences and similarities in their approaches. It lifts up the rest of that education for them. And it also takes them out of some of the silos and pockets that they might otherwise gravitate towards. So it can be I think it can be very life-giving. And I will say, I think that a PC education, and actually a college education, most places you would go, you get it out of it what you put into it, right? So if you go and sit in the back of the classroom and don't talk to anybody, you're not going to make those connections in the same way as when you dive in. You get to know your professors, you get to know your fellow students. And I've said before, when I talk about DWC, I think one thing that if you will come to Providence College, is that for the first 4 semesters, you're going to be in a DWC seminar, also the bigger part of DWC, but a DWC seminar. And so you will be spending 2 hours a week talking about ideas in a discussion-oriented class with about 15, 16 students and a professor. And there are a lot of schools that can't give you that, not at not freshman and sophomore level, because those introductory classes are going to be bigger. And so I think that's a really important part of not only the education that we're offering, but again, because that DWC that's people from all majors and undeclared all throughout those first 2 years. People really do get to interact across the campus because of that DWC experience, and the rest of the core as well.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Dana. That was certainly very helpful. And I think that Development of Western Civ was one of my favorite classes, as a student. Again, I was an English major, so I tend to, have a little bit of a bias towards Development of Western Civ, but I think that, it's certainly relatable to a lot of different majors on campus. And I think especially for students, today that are interested in social science, I think that they'll certainly find ways where it can relate to what they're majoring in and what they're studying.
Absolutely. And as always, if you want to send people with questions to me, feel free to do that.
Fantastic. I forgot to mention earlier for our participants that if you have specific questions, you can always utilize the chat function or the Q&A that's at the bottom, and I or the professors that are helping us out can answer those questions as we go along. So thanks again, Dana. Have a good rest of the week, and I'll see you soon.
All right, take care.
Great. Okay, so knowing that many of you are interested in the social sciences, I have enlisted the help of some of our professors that teach within these programs. I think all of our professors have access to their cameras and they can put it on. There we go. Hi, Joe. Hi, Jennifer. How's it going? So I will have each professor introduce themselves. They'll talk to you a little bit about what their program is and give you kind of a general overview. And then I will kind of handle some questions in the background through the chat. So I'll turn my camera off and take it away to our professors. Joe, you're in the top left for me, so I think that's kind of my bias to start in the top left. So I'll have you start, and then Jennifer, you can go next, and then Leo, you'll go third.
Great. Well, thanks. Welcome. I appreciate you coming. I don't want to take too much of your time. I'd rather have you ask questions. Political science is a social science, but it's a hybrid social science. It borrows a little from economics, a little from psychology, a little from sociology, a little from history, and even a little from philosophy and law. And it does that because our primary concern is with political actors and political action. And so we kind of have a focus on politics and trying to understand politics from various interdisciplinary angles. And so unlike economics, which is, more or less, although that's changing too, a pure major, we tend to be a hybrid major. So for example, my training was in political psychology as well as political communication. And so what'll happen if you take a political science major is you'll get exposure to many different social science approaches. The political science major is 33 credits. There are, technically speaking, only 3 required courses: our introductory course, a methodology course on research methods that you take junior year, that prepares you for your senior year seminar. And that was just the administrator for our department. I apologize. The other courses have to be distributed a particular way. I teach American politics, and so there's a subfield that we call that. We also have a subfield in international relations and comparative politics, as well as political theory. So you take one course in there, and then you get to choose whatever electives you want to. The main concern is that you study politics, and the angle that you take is up to you. So 33 credits, great major, interdisciplinary. We have about 240 majors and about 50 minors. So it's a fairly big department, not quite as big as psychology, but pretty robust. We have a lot of really great students. Our students go on to all sorts of things. Law is probably the most common, but it's not the only thing. So I'll just wait and answer any questions. So I guess I'll hand it off to Jennifer, since you're kind of next in the row.
Thanks so much. Welcome, everybody. My name is Dr. Jennifer Van Riet. I am professor of psychology for the last dozen years or so. Happy to be here representing the psychology department. So a little bit about psychology at Providence College. So we are a 12 course major, and which equals 39 credits. We offer a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology. We do not offer a minor, so we do only offer a major. But we also jointly with the Department of Biology offer a neuroscience certificate program. And so that's for our students who are interested in the biological origins of human behavior. That is a program that is sort of similar to a minor, but similar in size to a minor, but you can add on to your major and earn that certificate in neuroscience. In general, our approach here at Providence College is one that's really grounded in the scientific method and empirical observation. So the core of our major is research methods and statistical course, in which every single student gets actual experience conducting psychological research and testing questions that you come up with. And so you do that in 3 courses, actually. So 1 year-long course, and then as a junior or senior, you take an additional laboratory course in an area of psychology that you choose, and you can further test your own questions. And that's a really exciting part of our major. Something you don't always see at other places is that many opportunities to get involved in doing your own research, both at the sophomore level and at the junior senior level. In general, our major is structured so that everybody gets a little bit of breadth. So you take a course in a bunch of different areas of psychology. So everybody takes a human development course. That's my subspecialty, so I'm biased. I think it's the best one. Everybody takes a biological origins course. Everybody takes a social cultural course. Everybody takes an individual processes course. But then the rest of the major is really left up for you to specialize. So if you also love human development like me, you can take a whole bunch of courses in that area. So the majors that we have, the students who we have in psychology really represent the diversity of the field. So we have some students who, like I said, are very interested in neuroscience and very interested in going on and working in neuroscience, whether that be in a clinical type way or in a more of a applied research type way. Then we have students who pair psychology with education, or they pair psychology with sociology, or they pair psychology with health policy and management because they're interested in public health behavior. So we really have everything. You know, we have some students who pair it with, for example, the fine arts, and they go into play therapy or art therapy. So the psychology major really can be what you want it to be. We do encourage our majors to always be thinking about what they're going to pair psychology with, because that's helpful in your postgraduate path and figuring out what you want to do and where you want to go. For example, are you interested in human resources? Well, then you might want to take some management classes as well. And so even though everybody in the psych major takes a little bit of everything, there's a lot of opportunities for customization. And we really think it's a good place to be. We're the second largest major in the College or the School of Arts and Sciences, excuse me, just behind bio. So if you come, and I hope you do, you'll have a lot of company. We have almost 400 psychology majors here. All right, I'll stop talking. I'll wait for questions and I'll pass it on to economics.
Hi, folks. I'm Leo Kahana. I'm the chair of the economics department. Happy to be here and be able to speak to you about our wonderful econ programs that we have. The economics department offers 3 majors, actually. We have the regular economics degree. We have something called business economics. And then we have another program called quantitative economics. All 3 of the majors share a same common core courses. There are 6 courses that every student will take. 2 principles courses, 1 in micro macro, 2 intermediate theory courses, again in micro macro, a course in what's called econometrics, which is a course about using how to use software and data to answer questions in economics empirically. And then in your senior year, you'll take your capstone course, which is a course, I'm teaching that right now this semester, in fact. It's a course that's supposed to bring together your skills that you've acquired as you got to your senior year and use them to kind of hone your writing skills and presentation skills. And you spend the semester writing a semester-long empirical paper that you will present to the class in multiple times, and really kind of showcases the empirical skills that you gain. So that's kind of the basics of our 3 programs. The differences between econ, business econ, and quant econ. The business economics degree program requires 3 courses from the business school, 2 accounting courses and a finance course. And that's supposed to give you kind of some skills and the language that's needed to work in a business environment where you might be working alongside MBAs, for example, something like that. The quantitative economics course, which of the 3 is the least popular, it's also the most difficult, requires some extra calculus, an intermediate course in econometrics, another course in forecasting. And the students that pursue that degree are students who are generally interested in graduate study, either master's or doctoral level in economics, or even outside economics. We have a lot of students who will graduate with a quant degree and they'll go on for an MBA program or go on to law school, something like that. It's a good segue for a law degree. But let me tell you just a few things about our department. I'm really happy to be here. I came here 10 years ago, in fact, as part of an effort to kind of rebuild the econ department because there were faculty who were retiring and going away. And since then, we've hired, I think, 7 faculty members. So more than half of our department are new. We have folks coming from, we have folks that have their degrees from Yale, from Vanderbilt, from NYU. I have my degree from Columbia. So it's a really top-notch department. One other thing I'll highlight, which I think is a really great aspect of our program, which we started, I think this is our 3rd or 4th year now. We developed a series of research courses where students get to work alongside faculty members on research projects, and the students earn credit for that. And just as an example, I did one, I think it was 2 years ago with a student named Peter Sanacandro. And Peter and I worked on a research project that tried to look at the impact of state gun laws on suicide rates. And Peter was an amazing student, worked really well with me. We didn't quite finish the paper in a semester, so I had some funds left over in the next semester, and I hired him to continue on. We eventually finished the paper, submitted it to a journal, and because of all of his extra efforts, I made him a co-author, and now Peter is a published co-author. And so students are really interested in doing this. We have more students who want to work with faculty than we're able to accommodate. And so that's something that's really, I think, really exciting, and students really having a lot of skills that they develop, particularly how to start a research project alongside a faculty member from the ground up. So it's a great time to be an econ major, but we're a pretty big program as well, not quite as big as psychology. We're only about 230 majors, but we're growing every year. And I think it's a great time to be an econ major.
I just want to put a pitch in for the other 2 disciplines. They are outstanding departments, and just like ours, and Leo and Jennifer were talking, we have a lot of very young, very talented faculty doing a lot of collaborative research. So I don't think you can pick a social science these days that isn't a really strong major.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think that one of the advantages of a school like Providence is the close relationship with professors. And as Leo was mentioning, the fact that you can work with professors kind of outside the classroom with things like internships and research, and presenting at conferences, and co-authoring papers and such. I think that is something that happens fairly regularly. As Leo mentioned, there's not enough faculty to have the students that want to do this collaborative work, and I think that is not an experience that happens at schools that are bigger than PC, especially, when I think of the large, 20,000 person schools and universities, those experiences aren't taking place until graduate school, for a lot of those places. And I think that the community that exists at PC really allows for students to be able to take advantage of that. And that's something that we've noticed that students are really looking for in the past couple of years. Students continuously ask me, how do I get involved with research? And how do I get involved with that relationship with professors? And we've noticed that. And I think that the mindset on campus allows for students to be able to do this kind of collaborative work. Jennifer's actually going to talk a little bit more later on about the Center for Engaged Learning and kind of demonstrate these opportunities. But I think all 3 of our professors here did a really great job of showcasing that ability as students at PC. Great. I didn't see any questions within the chat, but I think that's a testament to your thoroughness. All of you have been at Providence for a while now, so you know the ins and outs of this place better than I do, especially. But again, thank you very much for attending today. I'm going to give everyone's contact info. I'll follow up with everyone so that every student that's attending will have your contact info in case they want to ask some more specific questions about a particular major or program on campus. But thank you for sharing your time. I know it's very busy with advising stuff going on, so I appreciate it. Right, yeah. Just a couple things that are going on at the end of the semester. So again, thank you very much. I appreciate your assistance. All right, so we have Jennifer is actually going to hang out with us because she's doing double duty today, so I appreciate that. I mentioned earlier that Jennifer works with the Center for Engaged Learning, or she's actually the director of that program on campus. So I will have her kind of explain what that's all about, how that may relate to some of you who are interested in studying social sciences, and then I will kind of moderate some questions in the background. So Jennifer, I'll turn the floor back over to you and we can get going.
Thanks so much. All right, hello again, everybody. So I'm now going to put on my other hat. So I'm going to take off my psychology hat and put on my other hat. I'm also the director for the Center for Engaged Learning, as you just heard. And what is that? That sounds like a big fancy abstract thing. The Center for Engaged Learning is a unit on campus which is dedicated to helping students and faculty create more engagement in courses. And engagement in this context can mean lots of different things. So like I said, this is for the whole college. So this is something that applies to the social sciences, natural sciences, fine arts, business, you name it. And I'm really interested in thinking about how can we be more engaged learners no matter what learning we're doing, whether that's sitting in your civ lecture. And that's a type of opportunity where people don't think a lot about being engaged, right? Because you're thinking, well, this is just a lecture. I just have to sit here and I have to listen to it. But it turns out that there are ways to be really engaged and active in your learning, even in a lecture course, or whether it's a hands-on experience like a social science laboratory course or conducting research, as we just heard, with a faculty member, doing an internship. So there's lots of different opportunities for engagement. And so I wanted to share with you guys a few initiatives of the Center for Engaged Learning, some of the things that we support, some of the things we're working on. And I'm gonna actually share some slides for this one. This just keeps me on track, really, and make sure that I don't forget to say something that I really want to say to you guys. So it's just a few slides, I promise. All right. There we go. All right. So the first initiative that the center has been working on recently is helping young students, our first year students, make the transition into college and helping them be prepared for academic success here at PC. And so we're doing this in a couple different ways. You know, we know the transition from high school to college can be challenging. We know that college professors teach a little differently than your high school instructors did. Classes are structured a little bit differently. You know, one of the things that students tell us is they feel like they have way more time at college than they used to. And so managing that time and staying organized can be a challenge. So one of the things we're doing is we've created a 1-credit course called Intro to PC. And this is a course that is primarily in students who are undeclared are really interested in it, but it's not restricted only to undeclared students. Anybody can take it. So this is a course where it is actually taught by your academic advisor, which is a really neat thing. So every PC student is assigned an academic advisor. And, you know, it takes a while to get to know your academic advisor. It takes a while for your academic advisor to get to know you. And this course kind of speeds up that process. And so it makes it so that your academic advisor is in class with you once a week and is really getting to know you and you're getting to know them. And that way, that person can help steer you to courses and help steer you to opportunities that really match your interests. And that way, that person can help catch little tiny problems before they become big problems. And so it just provides that extra layer of support you need in that first semester to make sure that you land on your feet and that you really get off started on the right path. So in that course, we do a lot of community building, relationship building, but also get some key academic skills in there. So things about learning how to do some good reflection, learning about how to make the most out of the liberal arts, learning about the core. It's a really helpful course for that first semester. We also, in partnership with Student Affairs, have a program to support academic resilience. And I know that resilience has become a word that is being used a lot these days, maybe even a little bit too much. But I'm proud to say that we had this initiative even before the pandemic happened. So we recognize that resilience is something that's really important for classroom learning, right? Learning how to persist through challenges, especially academic ones, is really key to success. So we have a whole bunch of faculty members on campus in all disciplines. It's not just social science, business, fine arts, everywhere, who are actively promoting resilience in their classes. So they're actually teaching how to build resilience. And we're really excited about this. We feel like this, again, is giving students an extra layer of support. Number two, we help provide really engaging experiences that maybe professors or departments couldn't otherwise provide their students. So let me give you a couple examples. So this is an art class that fulfills the fine art core, and this is Asian art through virtual reality games. So we helped this faculty member who wanted to teach this class buy some virtual reality equipment. And so now she's able to offer this course regularly, and it's a really good one. People really love it. Number two, so you heard from Dr. Dillon before. You heard about the development of Western Civ colloquia she teaches on racism and theologies of liberation. So there was one year where she was teaching this course, and in our local theater company in downtown Providence, they were actually doing a play that connected with the themes. So we sent all of her students to see the play. And then Dr. Dillon arranged for the students to have some follow-up conversations with the actors who were part of that play. And so they were really tying in what they were learning to this experience in the Providence community. We support student travel. We support student travel to competitions, to conferences, to other places where they're going to either present their work or participate in some sort of, like I said, competition or case competition. So this example was 2019. Providence College sent a team to the Big East Startup Challenge. This was the first time PC had ever participated in this event, and they actually won third place, which was really remarkable, I think, for our first time in the event. But all of these students, they got to go to New York to participate in the competition at the time of the Big East tournament. All right, so that's just a sampling of some of the things that we're able to support our students to do. Number three, one big thing we do is we help students think about their postgraduate paths. So one of the members of one of the staff in our center, Dr. Mulderi, she's our postgraduate fellowships advisor. So she is like a coach. She works with students who are interested in applying for postgraduate fellowships. One of the big ones that she does is the Fulbright program. For those of you who've never heard about Fulbright, because I know when I was your age, I had never heard about Fulbright, but Fulbright is a program that's run by the US State Department, in which case students after they graduate are sent abroad for a year to serve as sort of cultural ambassadors. And they do lots of different things. A lot of them will serve as teachers. Some of them will serve as researchers. Sometimes you can get a Fulbright award for graduate school in a different country. So there are lots of different Fulbrights, but in the past few years, we've been very successful in coaching students to earn Fulbright awards. So last year, we had 3 students who were offered Fulbrights in lots of different places across the world. Another example of a fellowship, so last year we had a student, a history major actually, when the Humanities in Action Fellowship, which is a prestigious sort of social science fellowship. And he wrote a really good blog post. It's on our website if you want to go look that up. In the natural sciences, recently we had a Goldwater Scholarship recipient. And so this student is now in graduate school in the natural sciences. And that was a really major deal because that's a pretty prestigious one. All right, and lastly, number 4, I promise this is my last one. I want to bring it back to the issue of undergraduate research. That's something that you heard me and the other science, social science chairs talk about. But undergraduate research is a huge part of the natural sciences and social sciences and what our students do. So you participate in learning new stuff about the world, either new stuff about psychology or new stuff about economics, new stuff about political science. And we want to do as much of that as we can, because we know that if you are asking questions, then you're very engaged in your learning. So we run 2 grants programs, and we also have a showcase called the Celebration event that happens every April, where students from all across the college showcase their creative or scholarly work. Last April, we couldn't have it in person, of course, but we did still have it. And you can see the archives of that online. So there's just such great work that our students are doing that they showcase every year. Like I said, we run 2 grants programs as well. So we have a summer grant program, which is fairly competitive, which students apply to do a research project with a faculty mentor over the summer. And they can get up to 10 weeks of funding for that. So basically, we pay you to make your full-time summer job to be a researcher. And you can do that for up to 10 weeks. And so here are just some examples of projects in the past few years. This is a bio project where the student spent his summer bicycling around Rhode Island collecting ants. We send students to do qualitative work and conduct interviews in certain communities. We sent this student, this was a film student. She went to France to the film festival as part of her research one summer. And so there's just a wide variety of projects. I'm so excited to finally read the final reports from our 2020 summer. We did have the summer program last summer, even with the pandemic running. And I'm really proud of that. Lots of schools had to cancel their summer programs, but we were able to keep ours going. And so we had 15 students funded this summer doing research from all sorts of things. So we had a psychology student actually who was interviewing children over Zoom. We had a management student who was doing some human behavior work. So we had all sorts of different things happening. So that's my spiel about the Center for Engaged Learning and all the various different sorts of things that you might experience. Oh my goodness, was my screen blank the whole time?
No, you got, it was just the first slide was blank.
Okay.
So
Sorry, I just
That's
saw,
okay.
sorry. For you guys watching, Matt sent me a chat message that I just saw that said my screen was blank, and I had this horrible moment of, oh my God, I did the whole thing with a blank screen. So,
I would have stepped in via, I would have stepped in on the video if it kept going,
Gotcha.
but it was just the first slide.
These are the sorts of things that professors have nightmares about these days. I'm giving a lecture and it's completely blank and no one tells me. I'm sure
Nope,
that's
you're
happening
good.
to somebody. So anyway, so that is some things you might experience from the moment you step foot on campus and you're in maybe an intro to PC class with your advisor to your senior year applying for a Fulbright to spend a year abroad after you graduate.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Jennifer. I always look forward to seeing the projects that the students get involved with at the celebration for student scholarship. People ask me a lot, like, what can I do, or what major is best for me in order to do some research on campus? And it's really, it sounds like a cop-out sometimes, but saying that every major, and it doesn't really matter what you major in, and you can still have the opportunity to get involved with research and to get involved with one of these cool projects, is something that I think is a really big advantage at Providence College. So it's always fun learning about these opportunities for students.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really is. It's happening in every single major. I'll just give you a quick example since the folks here are interested in social science. So I had a student working with me recently, and we were interviewing preschoolers about how they felt about magical problems like monsters hiding under the bed and all sorts of other types of magical problems that they might experience in their everyday lives. And we wanted to know like what they thought was the best way to solve magical problems. And we found out some really cool things, like even preschoolers think about magical problems differently than they think about real problems. And so there's such fun stuff going on like that, or like the work that Dr. Kahane was talking about with his student that ended up getting published. So we have so many students who graduate from Providence College as authors, or presenting their work at big prestigious national conferences. And we're just learning so much from our students as well as them learning from us.
Very cool. Well, I appreciate your knowledge and sharing that with us today. As I said, I'm going to pass along everyone's contact info, so that way, if anyone has more questions for you, that they can follow up via email. But thank you for pulling double duty today. I realize that that's a big ask, so I appreciate it, and I hope you have a good rest of the week.
You too. It's absolutely no problem. Have a great week, everybody.
Great. Okay, so I promised when we started that we were going to hear from some current PC students today, and here I am delivering on that promise. So as soon as I make our students co-hosts, they'll be able to share their videos. Awesome. Okay, so I think this is kind of the highlight of the day, because utilizing current students is always going to be your best resource as far as figuring out what everyday life is like on campus. I mean, obviously learning and hearing from professors is great to learn a little bit more about what you might be majoring in and how that might go over the course of your 4 years. But I think hearing directly from students is always going to be the best thing to kind of give you a sense for what your life is going to be like on campus. So I have 2 current students with us today. I will have them introduce themselves, and then I'll ask them a couple questions about their experiences on campus. But yeah, we definitely welcome you to ask some questions in the Q&A or in the chat, and we can get started. So Sariba, I'll have you go first since you're in the top left for me, and then Maddie, I'll have you finish up.
All right, awesome. Hey everyone, my name is Sariba Fafana. I am a current junior at PC. I am a psychology major in the neuroscience program, and I'm also on the pre-medical track. Some things I do on campus: I'm a resident assistant at Gusman Hall. This is my second year being a resident assistant. I'm also a part of Horizons, which is a first-year mentorship group for students of color on campus. And then I'm also a part of Strictly Speaking, which is the co-ed a cappella group on campus.
You didn't mention that last time. I didn't know you were an a cappella.
Yeah.
Nice, awesome. All right, Maddie.
Hi everyone, can you hear me okay? Yeah, awesome. Okay, so my name is Maddie Mulligan. I'm a senior here in my last year. I'm a political science major with a Spanish minor. I'm originally from a suburb of Philadelphia in Pennsylvania. And my involvement here on campus, I am a member of admissions ambassadors here. I'm a member of the Dirigo Leadership Honor Society. I'm the president of the Irish Dance Club here, and I am also a peer ministry coordinator. So I'm on one of the leadership boards for campus ministry here.
Okay, wonderful. So since all of the students that are on the Zoom today are interested in the social sciences, can each of you give me, I guess, like what your favorite class has been, either your favorite class or your favorite experience within your major so far? I think that will be helpful.
I can go first.
Okay, cool.
No worries. I would say my favorite class is I probably have 2 favorite classes, and both of them I'm in right now as a senior. One of them is my senior capstone class. It's Southern Politics with Dr. Paul Heron. It's really, really awesome. We're covering from prior to the revolution all the way up until present day, and just covering all the different topics of it. And it's really great. Small class size, there's about 11 of us in the class in total. But it's been really, really great learning about the relationships between different regions in the United States and all the different aspects of that. And the other class that I really, really like is my Race and Politics in the Americas class with Dr. Tony Afenia. I had him once when I was a freshman, really enjoyed his class, could never get into them because so many people wanted to take him. And I am in one of his classes now, and it's been really, really interesting because we're learning about different race relations and how they relate to daily life, especially as a college student right now. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
And for me, I would also say I have two favorite classes. So one of them I took last semester. It was Psychology of Abnormal Behavior. I took that with Dr. Eileen Johnson. Loved that class. We talked about essentially just personality disorders. And that's something that you kind of like wait to take all those courses, because a lot of the psych courses that you first take is like intro and then research methods. So this was like my first like psych course. So I was really excited about that. We talked about also serial killers, and we got to watch a lot of the documentaries based off of that. I know like a lot of us have been watching documentaries and docu-series and murder mysteries on YouTube and Netflix. So our homework was essentially just to watch that and just write a little paper about that. So it was awesome. I got to watch Netflix for homework, so it's cool. And then one of my other favorite classes that I'm taking right now is cognitive psychology. I'm taking that with Dr. Mary Harmon, and she's amazing. We essentially talk about thoughts and how we process information. And one of my assignments is essentially how best one person can learn. So we have to learn about different learning styles and how short-term memory gets processed into long-term memory. And it's a lot of intricacies between that. So yeah, those were like two of my favorite classes so far.
Netflix for homework. College has certainly changed a little bit since I was a student. That's not bad. So one of the things that we learned about a little bit earlier, Dr. Dillon was on and talked a little bit about development of Western Civ and how that might relate to students that are studying outside of the humanities, right? If you don't have a major in philosophy, theology, literature, or history, I know that for a lot of students I meet with, they're pretty hesitant about development of Western Civ. So I guess, can each of you talk about the colloquium that you took and how that may have related to your major and what you ended up studying?
Yeah, so I decided to take a colloquium that would be pretty relevant to my major, just so I could kind of stay on par, be able to make connections to other classes, so the work seemed a little bit more manageable in that way. So I took a class called Conservatism in America, and it kind of looked at from an outsider's perspective, looking on how the conservative politics in the Americas came about, from all the way looking back to theories of like Aristotle and Plato, all the way up to the present. Really interesting, especially during like election periods coming up and everything like that. But yeah, that was a really interesting course, especially relevant to a social science major. It's really great.
So my colloquium, I took one of the newer ones. It was called Africa. And essentially what we talked about was Africa before colonialism. We talked about the theology, religions, governmental policies, like different types of societies that were existing in Africa before colonialism, and then learning about how colonialism affected these societies and how the effects of colonialism still reach on these countries today. And our term project was essentially looking at a Western African country, choosing a specific policy that we wanted to talk about and discussing how that has changed from before and after colonialism. As a Western African myself, I loved this. For me personally, I felt like Civ was a lot of the same stuff. So being able to look at history from like my perspective and like my ancestors, and be able to talk to like my grandma about how, because she was actually alive when my parents, Sierra Leone was still under British rule. So getting to talk to her about that and getting to learn more about my history, it was relevant to me personally. So yeah, I love my colloquium.
Okay, so kind of shifting gears to like maybe some non-academic aspects of Providence, can you talk about like your freshman residence and like what freshman housing is like? I know Sariba being an RA, this is kind of like right up your alley, but people ask me all the time, like, what is freshman housing like? So I feel like both of you can give a pretty accurate representation of that.
Yeah, fun fact, I've actually, as of right now, I've lived in every single one. I lived in McDermott freshman year. Last year, as my first year as an RA, I was in St. Joe's, and this year I'm in Guzman. So I've lived in all three of them, but freshman living is really a lot of fun. You get to move in early, and orientation is really a time where it's just freshmen on campus, and a lot of activities are going on. There's food trucks, there's free t-shirts. I don't want to give too much stuff away, but essentially it's a lot of good times, good music. I know that peer ministry gives you like free stuff too. I know Maddie can talk more about that later. But yeah, and on the RA perspective, we're really pumped, excited. We make you like your own door tags, and throughout the week, like we try our best to like get activities. Usually on the weekends, the RAs have a program. So they usually have a candy or like fresh baked cookies. I know when I was in Joe's my sophomore year, we had an actual kitchen. So I made cookies, I made like spaghetti meatballs, like I cooked. So that's what I did. But yeah, there's usually something happening in the dorm. And usually there's about 3 to 4 residents per each room, and there's usually 1 to 2 RAs on every floor. Res life usually is you can either go random or you can choose a roommate. I personally went random. I loved my roommates, but I would just say in the future, just be brutally honest on that review form, because I was brutally honest and it worked out for me. And I know for some other people, they weren't as honest and it didn't work out well for them. But yeah, that's from the res life side. That's what I can say about freshman living.
So I lived going into freshman year, I actually chose my roommate through the 2021 Facebook group. We found each other. We lived really, really well together. I lived in McVinney Hall, which is all girls freshmen. Everyone lives in doubles. I lived on the 8th floor, so I had a pretty good view of campus, which was really nice. But yeah, one thing that I think is pretty special about the freshman residence halls is that they kind of take the place of like Greek life almost. Like you really get to know your freshman year hallmates like very, very well. We had a policy on my floor that if you were in your room and you wanted people to stop by, you would do an open door policy. That might be a little bit different now with Corona and everything. But that was something that was really, really special because I immediately made 30 new friends on the first day just through like floor meetings and everything. And I think it's also really important just to form a relationship with your RA. I personally was able to get really close with my freshman year RA. First night or the last night going into spring break, there was a really bad storm up in Providence, and I unfortunately got stuck in my dorm, which was a little bit tough overnight. And it was me, her, and one other person in the entire hall. So we got stuck together. And it was honestly like a blessing though, because I got to form a really good relationship with her. And I'm still in contact with her now, which is really great. And yeah, like the friends that you make on your floor are really great because you really can like always go back to them to see them. And yeah, I'm still friends with most of the people that were on my floor freshman year. Yeah, and it's like a small family.
So the form that Sariba mentioned earlier is that when you deposit and when you say that you're enrolling at PC, we send everyone a housing survey. And it's got some pretty basic questions on there. It asks you, do you like to study with music on, for example? Or like, would you say that you go to bed early or you go to bed late? And we kind of match up roommates by your answers to that question. So yeah, if you're not really honest with that, like if you're a person that says, yeah, I like to stay up late, but you're really not, and then you get paired with roommates who are up until like 3 a.m. all the time, and you just want to go to bed at like 10:30, then yeah, it's probably not going to work out for you. So I feel like the more honest that you can be with that survey, definitely you fill it out instead of your parents filling it out, because they kind of like want to have a certain type of roommate with you. Yeah, just a good idea if you fill that out yourself and you're completely honest about it. So I think a pretty popular question that I get all the time is from students that want to know, what are some of the cool traditions on campus, or like what are some of the big events that happen? And I really like that question, but at the same time, I don't want to give everything away. Like Sariba mentioned, as a resident, like there are things that are really cool if you find them out for yourself. And like part of the coolness about them is like you just figuring out things on your own. So knowing that, and that we don't want to give everything away, can each of you give an example of like one of your favorite traditions on campus?
Yeah, so I'm also part of Voter Programmers, or BOP as it's called on campus. And one of my favorite events that we host is the annual Black and White Ball. And is basically a time where everyone gets dressed up. And it's nice to get dressed up because usually you don't really have time to, where everyone's wearing sweatpants, especially now. So it was nice everyone get all dressed up, and it's every single class. So it isn't like a class-based dance like most of the dances are. And we decorate Peterson all nice, and there's photo booth, lots of really good food, there's live music, there's like a coat check, like it's a great time. One of my favorite events on campus.
I would definitely have to second Sariba's comment about Black and White Ball. Past 3 years going to it, it's honestly been my favorite night of the entire year. It's just really cool. It's like a prom, but with like 4,000 of your friends, and it's a great time because everyone gets like dressed to the nines, and it's great. But another event that I really, really like is Late Night Madness, which usually happens in October. It's like the kickoff to our basketball season, and it's pretty much just 4 hours of just hypeness and getting excited for the coming basketball season. And yeah, we usually have a performer come. Years past, we've had John Legend. Who else did we have? We had Lil Uzi my freshman year. Yeah, and it's just there's always a really great performer. You get to get tickets to it. You can dress in like black and white in your Friar gear. Yeah, and it's like a really good point in the semester just to keep things going. It usually falls around like midterms time, so it's usually like a nice break from that. Yeah.
Okay, so I have one more question that I want to ask, and then we can kind of open it up to Q&A from the participants and the prospective students. But I think growing up from a bigger Italian family, food was always something that was really important to me when I was looking at schools. So how would you describe the food on campus, or the food off campus, I guess?
And Maddie can definitely attest to this. I would say that the food has gotten so much better since my freshman year on campus. I think Ray, which is our main, more traditional cafeteria style dining hall, well, number one, the staff is amazing. They treat us like family. They're our family. And there's usually like the classic stuff. So there's always burgers, fries, pizza. There's like a soup of the day. There's a really awesome salad bar, and they've been trying to switch it up in the past couple of semesters. And then one thing that I really enjoy that isn't a thing right now because of COVID is the U Cook station. And essentially what that is that they had a lot of pre-made ingredients, and they had different stovetops, so you can like make your own little meal if you weren't really feeling what like the main entree was. So I like to doing that because there's a little bit of variety, and okay, if I don't really like what's going on, I can make like a quick little fried rice or a little panini sandwich or whatever. So I liked having that option within Ray. And then also with alumni, which is more of a you pay for what you get type of situation. It's a little bit better, I would say. And you can use your Friar Bucks there, which is part of your meal plan. And with that, there's like a burger place. There's a really awesome stir fry place there. I love that place. And then there's also an awesome sandwich shop. So there is a lot of options on campus. And then off campus, there's Federal Hill, which has a bunch of awesome restaurants. And even in downtown Providence, it's a lot of awesome restaurants down there too. So with food on or off campus, you'll have your options.
Yeah, I definitely can second everything that Sariba said. Being that it's my 4th year, I've had more than enough experience with dining halls here at PC, and I can tell you that it's never disappointed me. I've always had a very big variety of options, from salads and hot meals and sandwiches and pizzas and build your own kind of dishes and everything like that. The staff in the dining halls really go above and beyond to make sure that students are getting what they need. Alumni hall is also great. It's kind of like I would call it like a food court style almost. Always great options in there and never disappoints as well. And there's also Eaton Street Cafe, which is open later. You can get like breakfast sandwiches later and burgers and chicken fingers and all the good things that your parents don't want you to eat all the time. That's always a great option. And then we also have a Dunkin' Donuts here on campus. And we also have like a Starbucks style cafe here on campus as well. So there's always the caffeine goers places as well. And then for off campus, we also have tons and tons of options. Obviously nicer places, all the Italian places on Federal Hill are always a treat for when your parents come to visit. And then there's a lot of smaller restaurants and like to-go places on Thayer, which is over by Brown University. They've got great options from Greek food to barbecue to Chinese food to Mexican food. There's something for everyone there. Yeah, so that's always like a fun treat at the end of the week too, to venture out to those kinds of places too.
I think with things like DoorDash and Uber Eats, I'm going to say that college kids are a little spoiled right now because you can basically get anything delivered to you in like 5 to 10 minutes. I know when I was a student, I had to choose like between, was it Big Tony's or was it Golden Crust? Like one form of pizza versus another form of pizza. But now like you can get anything. Like as Maddie was saying, there's so many different food options in the city. And there's definitely way more options now on campus that I think that you're not really going to have a hard time kind of finding something that you like and that is good. So it's definitely gotten way better. Like when I was a student, food not great, but now the improvements are way better on campus, and it's definitely noticeable when I talk to the students that are here. Okay, cool. So I think we have some time to open it up to Q&A from you as participants. So if there are things that you really want to know about Providence or stuff that we didn't cover that you really wish that we had talked about, feel free to utilize the Q&A or the chat, and we will be happy to help out. But again, I just wanted to thank our panelists, all of our panelists, and especially Sariba and Maddie, because this is a pretty busy time of the year. I know that you're kind of prepping for the last like couple weeks of the semester right now. So I know it's kind of a stressful time, but I appreciate you helping us out and sharing a little bit more about your experience at Providence College. So I don't see any questions in the chat, which is totally fine. As I said, I'm going to follow up with everyone and give everyone the contact info for all the panelists that we talked with today. So I think this will kind of wrap it up. We're a little less than an hour, which is nice. I know everyone's kind of Zoom fatigued right now, so you can hopefully take a break and not stare at your computer for a little bit. But if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to any of us, and we'll be very happy to assist and to help out and to share a little bit more about Providence College. So thanks a lot, and have a good rest of the day and have a good rest of the week. And for you guys, have a good rest of the semester. Good luck with all that stuff.
Thank you guys. Have a good rest of your day.
Guys, take care.
Take care, everyone.